We don't know the hour or the day. Time is such a gift, try and control your destiny. We don't know the hour or the day. Unity is strength, let's stand as one without delay. Cause no bad vibe me a chant. Me no want no bad vibe me a chant. I just peace the times all around, yeah. No bad vibe me a chant. No bad vibe me a chant. Say me no want no bad vibe me a chant. I just peace good time all around, yeah.
What's up, everybody? How you guys doing today? I know you guys miss me. It's been 6 months, but we're back for another episode of Death Taught Us How to Live. I want to make sure that I break up the shows into purposeful episodes. So the reason why I came back in May in the United States, May is Stroke Awareness Month. So we want to make sure that we give our proper due to them. So everybody out there that have questions about what is a stroke, how can I prevent a stroke, or even asking survive, what do you do after you have a stroke? And so there's no different. I went across the United States. I didn't physically go, but through my social media contacts, I went across the United States and found different people that will answer these type of questions for us. And today it will be no different. Today I have a great person on here. His name is Chris Adkins. He is a stroke survivor that had a pond stroke and also went into a coma. He is a author. He is a organizer of motivational speaking and talking to people to get them to live life again. And he's also a God-fearing man. So without any further ado, let me bring him onto the stage so he could actually speak about his life and who he is, and he could give you some more understanding. And remember, guys, throughout the show, if you guys have any questions, anything that you want to ask Chris whatsoever or myself, feel free to ask. Just put the comments inside of there. I don't know where you're watching this from. It could be TikTok, it could be Twitch, it could be Instagram, it could be Facebook, it could be YouTube. Wherever you put it in, we'll try to get into the show so you guys can get your question answered. So without any further ado, let me bring on my friend, Chris. How you doing, sir?
Hey, brother, how are you? Thank you
Oh
so much.
man, I can't complain. How are you?
Oh, I'm great. Thank you. I'm excited to be here and appreciate the opportunity, my friend.
Oh,
Thank you.
absolutely, absolutely, man. Chris, I don't know if I gave you enough justice or not because I was just giving a brief synopsis, but I want you to tell people who you are and why you qualify as a stroke survivor on Death Taught Us How to Live and what you do with your life after your actual stroke. So can you bring us back to that unfaithful day in 2016 and what actually happened to you and tell everybody what you're doing now?
Well, in 2016, March 31st of 2016, I had a stroke, and then I had two more strokes. One later that evening on the 31st, and another one that really affected me on April 1st. And put me into a coma, into what we call locked in syndrome. And really, after that point, it's been 9 years, and I have just really been on a mission to get the word out as to stroke awareness because I did not know what a stroke was. I was 49 years old, and I really thought I was having a heart attack. And I just feel it's very important, especially with Stroke Awareness Month being May, and today May 1st. I felt it was very important to get out, to get the word out, and so that's really been my mission. And I'm going through it by fitness as well. In other words, PT. I've done a lot of PT, and that has helped me tremendously in my recovery, and I want to share that with people. So that's a big reason for it. So
Okay, so the big reason for it, because you wanted to share your life and share what actually happened to you so people could understand what to do afterwards. So let me
yeah.
ask you something. Um, Today, do you have any deficits from your stroke and anything that you want to tell people to actually motivate them from those same type of deficits?
Absolutely. Deficits for me would be I have a ton of them. Um, drop foot, and move my way up. I mean, one of the strokes took my balance away, so um, that has not come back. My balance is pretty bad, and I have vertigo quite often. My earrings constantly. I haven't had a day of peace really since before my strokes, and it just goes on and on and on. I mean, you still have I was left side paralysis, so I'm constantly working on my left side. And the thing about a stroke survivor is it's a daily thing. It's not like you have this and it goes, it's always there. It's what you're going to do about it. And that's what I'm trying to do here is give people hope that you can do it. I was told so many times that the first year is all I'm going to see any improvement. Well, I've proven them wrong. I'm 9 years and I'm still improving. So I think that's important to get that word out as well. Don't listen to what people tell you. You can do whatever you set your mind to. So
So I completely agree with you 100%. But I would like to go a little bit further into those deficits that you was talking about, especially those first two, because I have those particular problems as well, vertigo and balance. Um, I really struggle with that, and you can help me out with that or not. I'm able to walk. I'm able to do all the things, and I'm about 6'4", about 240, 250 pounds. And people look at me and like, oh, why can't you do this? Why can't you pick this up? I'm like, I
yeah.
can't even when because I'm tall, they want me to pick things off the top shelf. And when I
Mm,
look up, I start spinning out of control and feel like I'm about to fall over.
yeah.
How do you deal with that as a person that's, trying to motivate other people to move on and not feel depressed or negative when those naysayers come and try to, I guess what they say on Instagram, troll you. How do you
Mm.
deal with that? How do you deal with those emotional um, discards from people?
Boy, I feel you. That's a great I can relate completely with that. Yeah, the minute that I look up, then I start to get off balance, and so I completely understand what you're saying there. And what I can tell people is it's hard for a stroke survivor because it's not something visual. In other words, I wear a knee brace, and it's kind of something that I do. And you know why I do that is because yeah, my knee does hurt because I put so much weight on my right side. But I also do that because then it I can actually tell people, I can say, it's my knee, and then I can go into the reasons why this has happened. But I get very tired of people always being curious, whispering like, what's wrong with this guy? And because I'm the same way. I mean, you're a tall guy, I'm a short guy, so I'm short and wide, and I used to be a power lifter, and um, that's been a big transition for me, and that's why I kind of went the fitness route. But I will say I can understand that, and it can be it's very important. I think that people in our situation understand that we have to adapt, and adapt is what we do. And when I say that, it's trial and error. You try something, doesn't work. You try something else, and maybe it does work. But I think as long as you have the attitude that something's going to work. You just keep trying it, and that I think that's what's helped me the most is the mental side of I'm going to do this, and even if I try something to pick it up and it doesn't work, I'll try a different angle or some way to make it happen. And then if it doesn't work, then my CEO, which is my wife Misty, and she is my chief encouragement officer. She's always there for me, so she's been a huge part of my recovery as well.
So this is what I'm hearing from you. Well, be patient with people because they don't know what they do. and have a good partner on your side to
Yeah.
make sure that when you do go into those dark, gloomy days, they can pull you out of it.
Hmm.
Okay, I could go with that. Now, you
Yeah.
said your wife's name is Misty?
Misty. Yes.
All right, so now I have a question for her. Um, if you don't mind bringing your lovely wife on the actual show.
Leave it right there. Yeah. Here
Yeah.
we go.
Yeah.
Hello,
Hi,
how you doing? Is it Missy or Miss T?
Miss T.
Miss T. How you doing, Miss T? How you doing today?
I'm good, thank you. How are you?
I am well. Thank you for asking. I do have a question for you, and it's going to bring you back to a dark time in your relationship. Is when Chris had his actual stroke. Um, how did you, as a wife, fight everybody and believe in your husband, and for him to not be, I guess, machines or anything like that? How did you fight through that and found the to actually move forward and be?
Um, I tell you, one of the biggest things is I put myself in his shoes, thinking, would I want a chance? And my husband was a God fearing man even before his strokes, um, always faith driven and just a go getter, a very positive person. Um, and I knew that I knew that I knew that if he had a chance and anybody could recover from it, it would be him. And it was frustrating because I did have some family members that didn't really agree with my decision wanting to keep him on life support and um, understanding their perspective too is, them thinking they don't want their loved one to have to live the life that was predicted for him. And when Chris was in his coma, they had said if he woke up, if that he would, best case scenario, be like Christopher Reeves, always paralyzed from the neck down, always trach. Um, and you just saw him now. Just, I mean, doctors are, they're great, but they don't always know. And sometimes God just has other plans, and I don't know, in my heart of hearts, I knew that if Chris could just have a chance, um, that he would give it everything he had to come out of it. And he definitely did that. And he's defied a lot of odds. Even his brain surgeon calls him a miracle man. Um, we don't know why, well, we give the glory to God, but everybody has a different, you know,
Hmm.
perspective on that as well. But, um, it was hard because never once though did I doubt myself or think, oh, am I making the right decision or I shouldn't do this. I just knew that I was going to give him every chance, because that's what I would want too. I wouldn't want people giving up on me.
Missy, and I'm terribly sorry to bring you back to this time because I can see it's being a little bit rough on you, but I want you to go a little bit deeper because I think you're being a little bit coy because I don't think people really understand the magnitude of this. You're saying some of his family members is like, "Yo, we're gonna just pull the plug," and you seeing all these things happening to your husband, and you trying to be strong for him, and you have to make the tough decision. And I guess you had snickering behind your back and say, "Hey, she don't know what she's doing. She's doing this. Everybody's against you," but you still fought on for your husband.
Yeah.
So what I'm asking you now is if another person out there has the same situation going on, what would you tell them to keep their faith within this and to be humbled and, I guess, strong enough to persevere through all that negativity?
Yeah, just follow your heart. I mean, I think, like I said, I knew without a doubt that I wanted him to have that shot and give him that opportunity.
And I genuinely wasn't being selfish, saying, "Oh, I want this for me." I really, sat back for a minute and put myself in that person's position. And when you see somebody in that state, I mean, you see shows and things on TV all the time where there's emergencies and life-changing situations, but until you're faced with it and you are looking at the person you love that you're supposed to spend the rest of your life with on their deathbed, um, attached to machines and being told they're never going to wake up. Yeah, until you see that up close, you really just, to other people out there, support the person that's making that decision if you can. um, I wouldn't, I hope nobody, other people don't have to make the decision. And again, I do feel there were other family members, I did get what they were saying because they knew Chris as one way, and we were being informed that if he lived, he wouldn't ever be the same. And that's scary. That's really frightening, knowing that the person, you've always known is going to be somebody completely different. And he was, and he is. And we've come a long way. We've had to fight to find a new normal and live, but it was very, very scary. And I don't wish that upon anybody. I was helpless, completely helpless. There was nothing I could do other than pray for him and show him that I believed in him and that I had hope for him. And while he was laying there, I whispered things to him that were positive. I didn't allow anybody to say anything negative in the room. If people spoke negative, I asked them to step outside the room. The mind is so powerful. I just knew that if we were filling him with the right things, and the brain, if he was there, that he'd be picking up those things, like, okay, if I can just get out of here, I'll be strong enough to fight, and I can show him what I have. So,
And you can hear in a coma. So I think it's really important that people know that, because I heard everything. And so knowing that I had such love with my wife there gave me such encouragement to keep fighting. So, that's important to get that out there as well.
You guys gave me a lot, and I really appreciate that. First of all, Misty, I really um, appreciate you. A lot of gratitude to you for having the faith, having the strength to keep our brother alive. Um, Not saying that I didn't have that same type of situation, but I didn't have that same type of love when I had my stroke. I was married, and unfortunately, we got a divorce. But I didn't trust my ex-wife enough to do the right decisions for me. And it seemed like you guys have a great relationship. And I just want people to understand, before a tragedy like this happens, fortify your relationship with your spouse, because when a tragedy like this happens, you cannot deal with the marriage and a stroke survivor at the same time if it's on the rocks. It's not, it's just, it's going to be very difficult. Um, but Chris, you've been coy with us a little bit too. You're saying a coma, and you can hear within a coma. Let's talk about that a little bit more, because I know in our pre-interview you was talking about the locked-in syndrome and things of that nature. You know, you had a coma and you had locked-in syndrome. How did you get out of both? And what was it like being in? Well, that's a question I have a little bit later on. But tell us what it was being in a coma and you could hear everything going on, and what did that do for you?
Well, the coma, boy, I tell you, that's some scary stuff. I mean, it's your mind is working. You can't do anything. You think you're communicating, and you're fighting a battle. And if it wasn't for my faith, I know for sure I wouldn't be here today. And I had some pretty in-depth conversations during that time. And it was a fight. And here's something that I want to share too is that a lot of us men think we have control. And at that, I tell you what, I've learned we have no control, zero. And the minute that I gave up and said, I have no control over this, then things started to turn around for me. But up until that point, I thought I could actually pull myself out of that thing. And I know looking back, there's no way because it is a dark, dark place. I mean, it is, you talk about helpless. I mean, you can't do anything. Locked in syndrome is like being buried alive. That's how I would put it, plain and simple. And I don't wish that upon anyone. And for any locked in survivors out there, if you're listening, God bless you. Because I know what you went through and you are my hero. Because it's boy, it brings up emotions. It's going back there, it stirs them up and it brings them, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
tough.
it's just boy.
You want to put it behind you,
Yeah.
but then again,
But then we need to get it out.
we
So,
do.
Yeah.
You know, and it's important to have empathy for people that are going through that because it's it is challenging, and it's you don't, I don't know, we were young, we were in our 40s, we thought strokes were for older people. You know, we didn't know the BFAST acronym, we didn't know the symptoms, we didn't know, you know, when, I mean, Chris got to the hospital within like 13 minutes of, you know, the onset of his first TIA, which we thought was a heart attack. You know, and he didn't get treatment for it because by the time he got to the hospital, all of his symptoms had subsided.
Yeah.
And little did we know he was brewing up to have a massive left cerebellum infarct. And that stroke was really, really very tough. And Chris was awake for that one. It was very painful watching him have that stroke. I was literally holding his hand, sitting in the chair with him. He was laying down. And when he had that stroke, he attempted to get up, you know, and I remember him saying, my head, Misty. I mean, here's my strong husband that I've always looked up to, you know, in the fear on his face, the helplessness, you know, and I knew something was wrong, but I didn't, you know, again, we didn't know that he was actually having a second stroke. At that time, they thought it was seizures. So he wasn't actually being treated for his stroke yet, even though we had been in the hospital for a good 12 hours at that point. Yeah. And then the next morning, I woke up and I was holding his hand still. And I just remember, you know, knowing in my heart that something was wrong. And he wouldn't wake up. He wouldn't wake up to eat. And I remember trying to open, you know, his eyes, and I could hear him kind of slightly moan, like an attempt to try to talk. It wasn't like just somebody in a deep sleep. But when I looked at Chris, he just was looking beyond me. He was looking, I was directly in his line of path, but he just was looking past me, like right through me. And I knew he was gone. I knew. And I went and got help. And again, they thought maybe it was meningitis, and they ended up doing a spinal tap on Chris, not knowing that he had had 2 strokes. And when they did the spinal tap, they released the fluids too quickly. And that's what actually caused him to slip into respiratory arrest and actually go into his coma. They never did a repeat CAT scan until day 3 that we were in the hospital. And then by then they saw he also had a right frontal hemorrhagic stroke. So it was many, many days that we were there before we realized what had even happened.
The pressure was so bad that I literally thought my eyeballs popped out.
You had dreams.
I had dreams like that. And then I kept trying to feel my ears because I felt like blood was coming out of my ears. There was so much pressure.
Some of the things he described when he was in his coma, at one point he thought he was given eyes from a golden
From
retriever.
a golden retriever, yeah.
You know, and he had some battles with the devil.
Mhm.
You know, and he and all. I, you know, that's why when people ask Chris, you know, if you know his faith and did he really see God, he likes to also kind of share and let them know, you know, yeah, and I also saw, you know, Satan, you know, and it was a battle. And when he was talking about surrendering, that's the part I think he was referring to, but not saying it. Is that for a while he was fighting with Satan and thought that he could get out. And it wasn't until God appeared
Right.
to him that he said, you know, I surrender.
Yeah, and then and I was told, you know, I've got it from here, and I was like, thank goodness, because I don't have it.
From God.
From God. I was just I was so exhausted.
I'm a lot of things I'm hearing from you guys, and it's refreshing. One, Misty, I'm very impressed how you communicate with Chris. Um, I've been doing this for about 5 years, and I've seen couples communicate with each other, but you guys flow instantly. It's like you don't step on each other's toes, and you really feel what he'd been through. I haven't seen that before.
I'll be honest with you.
Oh,
I'll
thank
share
you.
something that we don't tell a lot of people. Right before Chris's strokes, we were not in a good place.
No.
Really?
No.
I wanted a divorce. He was maybe you can say
I was not I was not a night. I was mission driven in a wrong mission. I was chasing the almighty dollar.
Yeah, and it let's just say so you know, even honestly, this experience, although a tragedy, has brought us closer. When right before his strokes, I was going to file for divorce and wanted a divorce.
What,
And
really?
yes. And we were, like I said, we were not in a good place. And I loved him, but we didn't like each other for a period there. I think we were
Did
focused
you
on.
respect each other?
Oh yeah. Yeah. I mean,
Okay.
I respected him, but I think we were off track. We were focused on, you know, the material things of the world. We were focused on making money. We were one of the top 5 sales teams in Naples in our Fifth Avenue office, you know, down there in Florida. And, you know, we were so focused on, you know, keeping up with the Joneses. And we didn't realize that then, you know, but when we reflect back now, you know, I really think Satan had a hold of the wheel and was really steering us in a bad place. And when he had his strokes, I thought, what kind of woman am I going to be, or person am I going to be to leave someone when they're at their worst? You know, I can do it, you know, no matter how mad I was at him or how much I didn't like him.
Well, Greg, I still liked her.
No,
I know.
as a human
I
being,
know.
my heart, you know, but thank God it happened, because we are in a beautiful place now. And it did take time, but when Chris did wake up, it's funny the things you thought were important before.
That's so true.
See, this is exactly what I mean. I don't hear that a lot.
Yes.
And when I'm saying I don't hear that, usually I hear from the stroke survivor or the person that had a near-death experience that their life has changed and they see how precious life is. I don't hear from the spouse or the caregiver. Like I, it's I'm trying to explain it the best way I can. Um, when you go through something like this,
Mm-hmm.
you feel like you're alone and nobody understands what you're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
You could explain to you blue in the face, but they still don't understand. But it seems like you not necessarily you've been through it, but like you said, empathy. You have some compassion towards it, and you don't take it for granted that your husband is still here. It seems like we have a message from our people from our audience. So let's go to those questions first. I'm gonna get back to my thought in just a moment. So let's bring up the first question that we have. Oh, this is a big one. This is from Donna Dunkley. She's a one of my followers from the island of Jamaica. So Christian
Okay.
worldwide, brother. Say, hey, you all, good night. Chris, thank God for an amazing fight. That faith was the stroke from high blood pressure. Also, give God thanks for the wonderful wife you have. Some partner are gone, and I guess you are still there. So I guess the question she has is, what caused your stroke? And also, she's giving kudos to you, Misty, for being a great partner. So I'll allow you to answer that. What happened and what caused your stroke?
Well,
To
but we never found out what caused my stroke. I tell you what, I was a guinea pig for a year, wasn't I? Pretty much.
yeah.
Yeah.
So Chris, the only precursor at the time that Chris had was high cholesterol, but it was currently being managed. It didn't run in his family. There wasn't a
Mhm.
history. He didn't have high blood pressure. We never had or have received to this day a definitive medical explanation as to why Chris had his strokes. They did run him for battery of tests, blood specialist, and the neurologist, and
Yeah.
I mean, we went on and on and on for
We
a
were
good
so
year and a
many
half,
appointments. Yeah,
and
actually it was a
they
year and a half.
finally just said, it happened, and it happens to some people, and sometimes you don't always know why. So I think at that time we thought, well, maybe his reason was for something else in life. It gave us a different purpose. And, Chris's experience of what he saw when he was in his coma and his conversation with God, he felt strongly that it was that the Lord wanted him to get that message out to other people, about having hope and faith and knowing that he is real. He's there.
Yep.
And, he loves us all. And,
No doubt. And that's a really good question, by the way. So thank you for taking the time to even ask the question.
yeah, we never did find out.
So you guys are amazing people. But before I go any further, I want to make sure that people understand what we're talking about when we say locked in syndrome and what part of the brain that actually affects, so we can have a better understanding of what you went through, and if someone else is going through that, how we're supposed to treat them. So, Chris, can you explain to us what locked in syndrome is and what part of the brain it affects?
Locked in syndrome is really where you can't do anything but move your eyes. And so we had the way that we communicated was blink once for yes and two for no, right? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what I did that for quite some time. And so your brain is working, but you can't do it. Like if you wanted to move a body part, you can't move anything. You're
paralyzed.
You're paralyzed
From the neck down.
Yeah, from the neck down. So that's really what it is.
Actually, Chris couldn't even move
I can't
his
move.
head.
I couldn't move my
He could
head.
only move his eyes, left or right. And I think it's really important, if you ever find yourself in this
Yes.
situation with a loved one, is to get in their line of view.
Yes.
Because they're scared. And I knew my husband was scared. I saw the fear in his eyes.
Oh yeah.
And remember that they can hear. And even in death situations, they say hearing is one of the last senses to go. So for me, it was important to get in front of him so that he could see me, and to figure out how to establish a way of communication with him. So I said to our kids, we're going to have to only ask yes or no questions. Reform your thought, reform, what you're wanting to ask, and figure out a way to ask it where he can answer yes or no. And I told my husband, this is what we're going to do. You're going to blink at me once for yes, and blink at me twice if the answer is no. And one of the first things I even asked him when he first woke up, and I already knew the answer, but I asked him, did you see God? And he blinked one for yes. And of course, he's paralyzed and can't talk. And I had to wait months to be able to hear his story of what he actually experienced and what he saw. But for the locked in syndrome person, you got to be their voice. You got to speak for them and, keep the negativity out of the room, be their encouragement, be there for them, let them know they're not alone and that other people have come out of locked in syndrome, and there's just to have hope. If you immediately start thinking negative thoughts, like I said before, your mind is so powerful and you go down that road, it's going to take over.
Yeah.
But you have to stay positive. And a lot of recovery and what we have found in his journey of recovery has to do with finding humor in things and making things fun and laugh. And actually we became friends. We actually became friends after his stroke, which is what saved our marriage. But it was a whole different thing when you really get down to the human being and finding that empathy and having compassion for each other. It's a whole different ball game.
And I want to piggyback off something too that she said. It's really important. Anybody out there that has a family member that has had locked in syndrome or is in locked in syndrome, it's very important that you get in that line of sight, because we can't see, but that little area, there's a little area. All I saw was a fluorescent light because you're looking up, and she would get in that view, the fluorescent light, and I could see her face, and she would pray over me, and I'd hear that, and that would give me incredible encouragement. And also my wife Misty was there for 62 days, every single day, and I knew it. She was by my side.
I never went home.
Never went home. And I'll never forget that. So, knowing that, there's a person there that loves me that much, I'm going to fight for that person to be with that person. And that was really my attitude. So
I think that both parties supporting each other, because he didn't want to just recover for himself. He wanted to recover for me and to be able to continue for us to have a life together. So it takes a lot deep from within from both parties, I think.
It does.
Everything I'm hearing from you guys, I'm like, wow, I'm really at awe right now, because a lot of us as stroke survivors don't have this type of relationship. And Chris, you're absolutely right, and I would completely agree with you. Just having someone there that no one is fighting for you, you want to fight back and fight for your life as well, because they have given so much, so you want to show them. And I want to talk a little bit more about this situation that you said you seen God, because I felt like I did the same thing. I asked God to save my life, and He saved my life so I can be who I am today. So I want you to talk about that and talk about this book that you have written, because it seemed like this book is a testimony of your understanding of becoming humble and giving everything to God, and showing people that if they do that, life could be so much easier. You don't have to fight these battles because God will fight them for you. So while I bring up your actual page from Amazon where we can find your book, can you just break down what I'm basically talking about in a bigger synopsis than I just give?
Absolutely. Well, the book is called Stroke of Blessing. I marked out luck because there's no luck involved in this. It's an absolute blessing that I'm here and getting to enjoy life. So the book is a testimony, and it talks quite a bit, and I talk quite a bit in the book. It took me 5 years to write it with my index finger of my right hand.
He wouldn't let me
I
help.
wouldn't let her help. So, but but the book, when you get into the book, I explain a lot about what I went through spiritually, and I had a moment with God, and I have no doubt I did. He actually spoke to me and showed me his face, and I'll never forget that as long as I live. I mean, it was an incredible moment. And what he did for me was to tell me that he said, I've got it from here, son. And when he said that, it wasn't just, it was a very deep fatherly voice that I knew. I knew I was in the hands of God, and I have done everything that I can do. And he really does have it from here. And I turned the corner after that point. Misty knew because there was a ray of light that came in through that window of the hospital
The morning before
the
you
morning
woke up.
before, and she knew either I was going to heaven or I was going to be here on earth, but either way, that I had seen the Lord, and I had. So that's really what we're talking about here is a complete faith driven. The book talks about a lot of the situations that came up within my coma and locked in syndrome, and the fight. I mean, it's a fight. I mean, I can't sugarcoat it. It's an absolute fight, and just to try and until you've been in that situation, it's really hard to. I mean, people. A lot of people say, "Hey, I'll fight to the death." Well, I had that. I fought to the death, and I am very, very blessed that I'm here and able to communicate this with other people to give them hope that you too can get through this. And I got through it through my faith.
Well, and if you're here after a stroke, God has a purpose.
Absolutely.
There's a purpose for you, and there's something you need to be doing. Finding out what that is part of your recovery as well.
Part of the journey, yeah.
Yeah.
So thank
All right, can
you.
we talk about your website as well, and tell people what it's for and why you made up this particular website?
Well, what we did, that's a good question too. What we did is a little over a year ago, we decided that we were going to do something about this, and we were going to get the word out for awareness. And also we were going to bring others hope. And we realized when we did a little bit of research, how many stroke survivors there are in the world globally. And when we first started this thing, when I say this thing, social media, we had a map, and that map filled up so fast
But it was global.
It was global. And we
Yeah.
were talking whatever, Australia, we had in Philippines, we still do. We have Singapore, Indonesia, Africa, you name it. We had just all over. And we said, we're on to something here, because it finally, one of our social networks, our TikTok, grew to 25, almost 30,000 people. And Instagram started to blow up too. And LinkedIn, even LinkedIn, all these different social media platforms took off, because there is a lot of people out there that, man,
I think there's a need for
for
the support groups for stroke survivors. There are a lot of I understand the American Red Cross does a lot, but it's still not specifically for stroke. And for the amount of strokes that happen one every 33 seconds, there should be more support. There should be more awareness. There should be the people. Our website we started was really for support, giving other people resources and links on there. There's resources for adaptive clothing, because for a caregiver, it is really hard to roll over a 240-pound power lifter, to get his pants on. They have these fabulous pants out there that just snap down the sides, and there's a lot of resources and things that we learned that nobody told us. We were just kind of on our own. And then with our website and starting the support group, what we found was that we weren't alone. Two, stroke does not discriminate.
That's a true statement.
It doesn't matter
Yeah.
where you live, where you're from, what color you are, your race. It does not matter your age. It comes and it will, any age, we had one lady whose infant in her womb had a stroke.
Uh-huh.
We've had children. And so there's too many people having them for there not to be enough support groups and awareness. And there needs to be something just for stroke awareness, not even through the um, American Heart Association.
Yeah.
We have to bring light to more people, and bring more awareness out there.
Yeah, and it's an honor. I mean, it's an honor to be able to, just the fact that I can communicate. Think about that. I had to relearn everything, just like a lot of people did, to swallow everything. So I felt that on this website, we could put the book out there, and that has had a big impact. We also started a nitric oxide booster, which I strongly promote this product. We make it, we have it made ourselves in the U.S.
Well, we didn't make it
We
ourselves,
didn't
but
make
we
it
had a
ourselves,
chemist.
but we had a chemist. But anyway,
Yeah.
so, but it's all natural. It's amino acids and beetroot powder, basically. And why I did that is because it opens up your circulation, your blood vessels, and that all helps. Because I as a stroke survivor, I get paranoid still to this day. If I get a headache, I think to myself, oh no. And I do not get headaches with this product because the blood flow is there. And that's really important for us survivors. So I did want to say that as well. That's on our website too. So it's very informative.
Cool. I, I you guys are blowing me away. Actually, it's like there's a lot of stuff that you guys having out there, and a lot of things that you're saying that I think people don't understand the gist of what actually happens. They just see the final results, or they come by and say, "Okay, you're looking great," and go home, but they don't realize what happens when everybody leaves. Like you, Misty, you were saying, how do you pick up a 240-pound man? I'm glad there's adaptive clothes out there, but nobody talks about that.
Yeah.
And I'm very glad that you actually brought that up because nobody is talking about it. One of the things that really bothered me is that when I had my stroke or my AVM rupture, nobody gave me a psychiatrist to speak to, nor no psychiatrist for my wife, for my then wife. So we were just thrown to the wolves after we left the hospital. Nobody
Right?
knew what to do, or how to handle this stuff. So I really
Yeah.
appreciate that. So we come to the end of our show. And at the end of our show, we have what's called our hot seat questions. So what I'm going to do is ask you 4 questions, and I want you to give me your best answer. Give me about a minute for each or less, so I can make them into reels, and we can make you more popular in the Instagram, TikTok, social media world. Then after that, Chris, Misty, whoever, you guys want to share any more information, I'll allow you guys to close out the show. So anything that you want to give out to people, give us our closing remarks and end our show for tonight. So first of all, everybody, I thank you guys for coming out and watching us. I really appreciate you. We will have another stroke survivor next week. So we'll be doing this all month long from May, just bringing awareness to stroke and also understanding how a stroke will affect you, affect your loved ones, and things of that nature. So without any further ado, it's time for our hot seat questions. Chris, Misty, are you guys ready for our hot seat questions?
We
Yes.
are ready.
All right. So I'll give you guys 4, and I will start them off with our first question. And our first question is, what was it like having locked-in syndrome?
That's you.
That's me. Okay. So that would the short answer on that would be being buried alive is how that's the best way I could explain it. It's the most helpless feeling, and it's the worst horror film that you could ever imagine. It's that would be my extreme short answer for you. If that does that, I'm under a minute. So I think I did pretty well.
Yeah, you did good. You did good. All right, question number two. Question number two. The question that what can them understand life is precious?
Did you hear
It's
that?
precious. You cut out a little bit, but I think you were asking what can you say to people to make sure that they understand that life is precious. You listen, you get one life.
Mhm.
Very rarely do you get an opportunity at a second one. And Chris has that, and I'm you know blessed to be a part of it with him. Um, you you have to let go of the past, and understand that things are possibly never going to be the same as they were, but find joy in your new normal, and understand that you can still be happy. Life will be different, and you may be never the same physically, but you can still do a lot, and you still have purpose after a stroke.
And I'll wrap it up with time is your most precious commodity. There's no doubt. So use it wisely.
Cool. All right, question number three. Is your communication skills better or worse, and why?
My communication skills, I would say they're better. They're slower, but they're better. And what I mean by that is, well, that they're slow, but there's a lot of thought that goes into what I say. I hesitate more, but that also helps me to really have an empathy and compassion that I did not have before.
I think it
So
takes a lot
yeah,
more energy
energy. Yeah,
for
true.
Chris to
Yeah.
express his thoughts now, and I think that also gives him more time. Uh,
Yeah, and I quickly realized too, I communicate a lot. I tell you, the eyes are the windows to the soul. That's for sure. And as a stroke survivor, like I said earlier, time is your most precious commodity. When I'm talking to someone, I look them in the eyes. And if they are not really interested in what I'm talking about, I'll quickly shut it down
it's
and move
okay.
on. And that's
It's
okay.
okay.
I'm good with that. But I think that's another area that I have definitely improved in communication.
I would say it improved.
Right? Yeah.
Mhm.
I want to add one little thing to that. Um, I'm basically the same type of way, Chris, but I get kind of annoyed with people when I ask them questions because I'm very thoughtful with my questions.
Mm-hmm.
And if someone answers my question uh, outside of what I asked them, that
Mhm.
annoys me. And this is what I mean. If if I say to you, "Are you hungry?" and then you respond to me, "Do you want me to make some chicken?" That's not what I asked you. I asked you, "Are you hungry?" Just yes or no. Don't try to fast forward the conversation with me. I'm trying to have a conversation to speak with you, and that annoys me when people did not answer me because it took me so long to come up with that question. Does that bother
Aw.
you too?
Yes, it does. And I totally get that 100%. So
Okay.
I'm right.
Okay. Final question. Question number four. When did you realize you were in a coma and not a dream?
Hmm.
Well, that's a good question. I realized it when well, I guess for me, it was, I was talking, nobody was hearing me. And I was thinking, why aren't they responding? And I was in the dark. So everything for me was in the dark. So I was trying to feel my way around. I couldn't move. And I thought, boy, this is serious. And I thought to myself, well, this is not a dream. I'm in it. And now I've got to figure out what I'm going to do here. And it was very scary. Very, very scary. I'll tell you what. I've never been so scared in my entire life. But I did realize that, you know, this is not good. Uh, if I can get out of this thing, it'd be a miracle. And like I said, faith was my reason, my light. It was my light in the darkness. How's that?
Mhm.
because it really was.
Okay, I could go with it. I've never been in a coma, so I couldn't answer that question. I just wanted to get your response to that. So I really appreciate you. So, like I promised, I'll let you guys close out the show. So, any closing remarks, anything that you want to leave with people, this is your time to do that. I'm going to head out and let you guys close it out the show. So, go ahead.
Thank you very much for having us on. And I would just say, to all survivors out there, God bless you. We're here for you. And we reach out to us. We'll be happy to answer any questions you might have. And it's an honor to do what we're doing. So go ahead.
I just want to remind people of the FAST acronym.
Yes.
And how important the new acronym that they're using is, balance and eyes. So the new acronym for stroke awareness is becoming Be Fast, and it used to just be FAST. Balance and eyes are the symptoms, the only two symptoms Chris had left when he got to the hospital. So when he first had his stroke, it was the facial, the arm, his speech, those, and then of course the T is for time, getting you to the hospital as quickly as you can. But the typical symptoms had subsided. But what Chris was left with was the balance and the eyes twitching.
Yeah, I was trying to hold a wall. I couldn't. Yeah, I remember that.
And more and more we talk to people in our stroke support groups and, other people that have experienced the same thing as Chris, is that they had only those symptoms as well. So if you see the Be Fast acronym, spread the awareness. This is a great month to do it. The platform is out there. We've put it on our website. But balance, eyes, face, the facial drooping, arm, speech, and time. So
now, circling back, balance and eyes. It's very important because my eye, I'm left side affected, was twitching nonstop. And I was trying to tell people that this is not normal. My eye is twitching just constantly.
It was like,
it was just going like this. And then I was vomiting. So because my balance was so off. So I think these are all right. That's
right.
all.
And they did do tests, but he, the facial, the smile was pretty much back, and his speech was coming back, and all those things. So that's why I really like to push the Be Fast acronym and make people aware of it. And
thank you.
And if your gut is telling you something and you're not getting the treatment you feel you deserve at your hospital, go to a different hospital, go somewhere else, or someone speak up for that person, get them the treatment and love that they need. So,
Thank you for having us on, guys. We really appreciate everyone.